that was truly amazing. And I just want to take a moment and say thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for those beautiful words. Thank you, Janet, for the beautiful voice, putting the words to music. You guys are truly, truly wonderful musicians, and I dearly appreciate you. I forgive. I forgive me. Not always easy to do. But as we stand in that truth, knowing that wherever we are is the perfect and right path. And the words are, I forgive the thought that anything needs forgiving at all. We are reflections of God, and we are in God's love in this world. And that is so true, because I'm going to say I here, I tend to be very critical of myself. And I'm talk to other people, and that seems to be the general way. And yet, what does that do for us? It really harms us. And it harms us to the point of that thought creates a block. And the energetic flow is blocked. That energetic flow of life. So when we constantly have these stream of thoughts that are negative, right? Because that's typically what happens with our feelings or our memories. We respond. And we respond in the moment. We get triggered by that. And at times, I know that when I get triggered, I'm always looking at the other person. Well, now why did you do that? Right? And in truth, they didn't do anything. They don't have a clue about what my thoughts are about myself or a situation or whatever's going on in my own head. And sometimes, believe me, it's not a fun place to be. But it's really about how do we do our inner work to unblock those areas where the triggers have become hidden. Because that's kind of what happens. We don't really realize that the triggers are there until we're triggered, right? So then we have to go back and think now, what happened? Why did I react in such a negative way? Or why did I react by pulling away and pulling in instead of engaging in a conversation as love, right? Those judgmental thoughts, we have to be willing to look at them. We have to observe our own thoughts and our own feelings. And that's not really very easy. It doesn't come easily always to me. I'm much better at observing someone else's feelings and observing what I think their need may be and listening for their request of whatever I said that may have triggered them, and having compassion and empathy in that moment for that person, right? It's a lot easier to do it for someone else, with someone else, than it is for me. Because when I'm caught up in it, whatever it is, and the angst of it, I'm not aware. So when I become aware, then I have to look at what it was that triggered it. And why that observation hasn't been healed. So how do I heal it? How do I look at those feelings and figure out what I need? Right? Because, if you're looking at nonviolent communications when we're working with other people, what are we doing? There's 4 steps, right? And the same 4 steps for empathy for others is the same thing we have to do for ourselves. It's observation, feeling, a need, and then the request. That's hard to do when I'm talking to myself. First off, when I'm talking to myself, I think I'm crazy half the time. But I got to figure out and be honest about my feelings. And be honest about what I really want. Because sometimes I'll tell myself, well, I want this, right? And that's not the truth. So I have to be really clear about what exactly it is that I desire in my life. And that changes sometimes moment to moment, situations to situations. So how do we really focus on ourselves with honesty regarding our feelings and requirements? I have to be honest with myself. I have to look and observe what I feel in my body, because that'll tell me where the work is that I need to do. So when I get anxious, I don't know about you all, but I pretty much feel it in my shoulders, okay? Other people feel it different places, but when I get anxious, I get this real tightness in my shoulders. So when I feel that, it's like, okay, why is my body tightening up? What is it that I'm hearing or seeing or thinking that's causing the stress, the tension? Most of the time, I just want to move and let it go. But if I don't really observe it and figure out what it is that's causing that to happen, then it's not going to go away. It's going to stay there. It might loosen up a little bit, but until I really look at it and figure out exactly what I'm thinking about something that I did or said or felt, it's not going to go away. And then when we're feeling and needing, those kind of go together. So what am I feeling? What thoughts do I have about all this? And what's the need? And sometimes I get, instead of really looking at the need, I want to go to fixing. Anybody else a fixer? So I want to fix it. So figure out, okay, this is what I did, now I got to fix it. And I just want to kind of skip over the feelings. Anybody else like that? Because sometimes when we look at our feelings, it's not real pretty. At least mine are not. And the needs are that primal energy and that force of life. So what is that universal need that I have to be safe, to be secure, to be loved, that I think is missing? Because it's a thought. It's not the truth. I don't lack anything. I don't even, some of you know me, the word need in my vocabulary is something I've tried to take out with would, hould, and should, and coulda. You know, it's one of those words that kind of keep you trapped instead of allowing you to be open. So a lot of times, instead of needs, I'll say, what do I require? What do I require to be at ease? That kind of helps me, because then I'm looking at it from, okay, what is my desire? And I'm not coming from that sense of lack, that it's really not there, because that's not the truth for me. The needs are like the absolute truth, right? The big T, they're formless, they're intangible. They can manifest in a million ways. There's an infinite ways that our needs can come up. For me, what I really want in life is to be alive and to be joyful. I love to learn, right? I love the warmth and beauty, the warmth of the sun and the beauty of the trees changing. I also love the warmth of the energy flowing in and through me and being healthy and whole, no matter what the outer circumstances, and sometimes no matter what the inner circumstances are in a situation. So really looking at, what do I require to be alive and fun and inspired? Because that's the way I want to live my life. So when I look at it that way, it becomes easier. And then noticing again, once I look at it from that perspective, where's my body? Most of the time that stress and tension will be released, at least a little bit more, because I'm forgiving that which wasn't true to begin with about myself. Because I'm aware of that thought and I can change it, which is the last request. We have to be aware and request, what do I really want? And so if I know what it is that I desire, what I require to live my life the way that I want to live it, then I'm aware and I can create a positive affirmation and change my thinking. And it can be as simple as the song's title, I Forgive Me. Because even though that title is simple, that is probably one of the hardest things that I have ever done in my entire life, is to forgive me. It's so much easier to forgive you or someone else than it is to forgive myself. But when I remember that the universe is love, and I am a reflection of that love, then I can let go and let God or the universe take action. I can let it go and be. Releasing that which no longer serves us, no longer serves me, is probably one of the most important changes that I'll ever have in my life. Living without that embarrassment, fear, shame, whatever it is. And then taking responsibility for my choices, which basically means I'm not living as a victim of the circumstances, of my thoughts, of whatever I've created in my mind. So I'm taking responsibility for my own thoughts, my own actions, and I am creating the life that I want to live, instead of hiding behind all of those negative thoughts that tend to put me on a hamster wheel going nowhere. self-empathy can assist in creating space within ourselves, within me, that allows me to be compassionate, that allows me different choices, awareness, and to really know thyself. The more we become aware of our own thoughts and how they make us feel and how it shows up in the physical body, the faster we're able to shift it, which is why I titled this talk, Empathy in the Fast Lane. Because with awareness, we get to jolt ourselves out of the doom and gloom that I sometimes put myself in quicker. Because the more I practice and observe my thoughts and the way I feel and how it affects the body, then I can jump back into being alive quicker. And I think that's really important, because life is for living. It's not for condemning. There's so much that goes on outside of ourselves on a daily basis that we have to process and move through just in the world. If you turn on the TV and the news, you're like overwhelmed immediately. And then to add to that our own overwhelming thoughts of lack and embarrassment and fear, shame, whatever it is that we're naming it today in that moment. And we know that it isn't anything but love. That's all that truly exists. We just forget. So if we can remember to let go of that shame and that embarrassment, and it's not easy. I mean, I remember one time, I'll share one thing with you guys here, because it's hard to share about the stupid things that you've done, right? It is for me. But I was young, it was my first job, it was Christmas time, and we went out to a really nice restaurant for Christmas, and they had servers all over. And we were going through the buffet line, and the servers were there, but I reached in to open up the, I don't know, what do you call those, sterno cover? And the guy was like appalled because I did that. But I didn't know. You know, I'm used to, serving myself. I didn't know that this person was there just to serve me. That was really foreign for me. And I was embarrassed by it. I thought, oh man, this is crazy. And I had all these thoughts going in my head when all I did was make a etiquette boo-boo, as my mother would say. And that's okay. How do we learn? How do we grow? Through our own mistakes. But we have to let go of them in order to learn. If not, then we're just on that hamster wheel spinning around forever and a day, and we don't learn anything. Life is about learning and growing. And so we have to look and observe about what we feel, what we require, and what we request, and let it go, and let God take over. Because learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. I love you, I bless you, I behold the living Christ as you. Namaste.